Hi, welcome to the Lonely Fans podcast where we discuss all things e-girls. I'm your co-host, Andy.
And I'm your other co-host, Nettaly.
And I'm Christina. I've been I've been playing video games. This is not gonna work.
We can take that. We can take that again.
That didn't work out how I thought it would be.
Hi, welcome to the Lonely Fans podcast where we discuss all things e-girls. I'm your co-host, Andy.
And I'm your other co-host, Nettaly. And today with us we have...
Christina. I've been playing video games for about 3 years now, but I just started on being an egirl on the epal site about 6 months ago.
So yeah, that's super interesting. So you said you started playing video games three years ago. What's the story behind that? Why'd you start getting into it?
So when me and my husband were dating, he's super into PC games. He's always built PCs. He's super into it. And when we started being long distance, he was like, I want something that both of us can do together, like other than like FaceTiming. And so he gave me one of his older laptops. It's not that old. It's like a Razer laptop. So it's capable of actually running games on it more than like a Mac. And he gave it to me and he was like, here, buy a mouse, buy a headset and play with me. And my other friend was like, you should download Overwatch. I love Overwatch. I was like, okay. So I did, and that's kind of how I got into it. Because other than that, I played like a Wii or in like a GameCube, when I was younger, and that's it. So I just started understanding the whole like gaming community, Twitch, Discord, all that, just a few years ago.
Well, that's super cool. So were you just never interested in
I could never afford it. I couldn't afford to buy my own. Yeah, I was definitely more interested in like clothes and like when I had a job as a teenager, I was not thinking about saving up for a computer. I was thinking about like getting new makeup.
Yeah, PC gaming can get really expensive if you're trying
It's
to like
expensive,
get the most, the best build and everything. And even console gaming is the entry barrier is pretty
all of
high.
it. It's an expensive hobby.
I mean, when I was a kid, I think I would only ever get one or two games with my console. Like, that's what my parents bought, and that's
I had
what
Wii
I played.
Sports and the Wii Sports. Yeah, that's it.
I think I had
the one that came with the game.
Yes, not even the cool one because you had to get the extension
the
for
Resort?
it. Yeah, well now I have a
yeah.
Wii and now I have Wii Sports Resort because I'm an adult now and I can get that. So now I play fencing. Now I can fence people in my own home.
Did you guys ever play the Super Mario Olympic games on the Wii?
I
think
not.
those are so fun.
But you know what? I could
Those are
probably
so
go
fun.
and buy it. I might.
Yeah, now that you have the Wii.
Yes.
Anyway, sidebar.
So that's so cool. I mean, that I have that same sort of. I use video games definitely to connect with my friends that I don't live in the same states with anymore. And so, I mean, obviously, it's a great way to share a hobby with somebody else. And that sort of blossomed into something that you're actually like super genuinely interested in.
Yeah,
now,
definitely.
Right? Do you find that there's any stigmas around just, obviously being a
newish gamer, and
also being female in it?
I'm pretty upfront about like how good / bad I am at whatever I'm playing, and usually I'll start out just playing with my friends, and so they'll teach me or want me to play with them and know that I'm starting out. So like I just tell people like, hey, I'm bronze or whatever, like I'm not that great but I really like it, and they're like, okay, like more power to you, that's really cool. And that's kind of really all I've experienced. Other than like if I'm in Overwatch, I have girl like in my username obviously. So they're like, oh, there's a girl. And everyone's like, it just depends on the match, but it's whatever. For all they know, I'm not a girl. If I'm not in voice chat, they can't prove it.
I think that's the funny thing about like to me for gaming culture, it's been like kind of the same. Like when you go on online games and stuff, they're talking about like your mom and always like making a big deal if like a girl starts playing or something like that. That's pretty funny that's kind of stayed consistent.
Then I can
over
come
this
back
evolution.
with them and just be like, well, I'll fuck your dad and I'll be your stepmom and I bet your credit score is under 700. Like that's what I always come at them with, and they get really butthurt.
Damn,
they're like, oh, I'll fuck your dad. I'll be like, I'll fuck your mom. Go to your room. Yeah, there's more power in insults because they're not as used, so people kind of get blindsided by them, and I think that's really funny.
That's a great point. Yeah. I mean, how often you're gonna hear that when I was gaming. I never heard that. Well, I never said that
Exactly.
either,
Yeah, but even if you did, like, you never heard it.
So, what are you mainly playing now? Overwatch, it sounds
Yeah,
like?
that's what I usually do. I do like Minecraft. I'll mess around on VR chat. I just downloaded like Rainbow Six and Destiny, and
Oh.
I have Tarkov and what is it called? Rust downloaded, but they frustrate me a lot. So so I'm not on them a lot, but that's usually when I hop on and want to play a game of something, I'll just go on Overwatch.
Maybe we can get into how you got involved with epals.
Yeah, it was my friend. Shout out to Hayden. He's one of my best friends that I met through my husband. We're all high school buddies, and me and him are constantly on the Discord together. And he was like, "Hey, Christina, have you ever heard of this?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "You can make money from," he said, simps paying you to play video games with you. And I was like, "Well, I'm not that good at video games." He's like, "Well, that's okay. Like, I don't think you have to be really." And I was like, "Okay." So I made an account that night. I got an order like the first day that I made it. Well, the first day that my game application got approved.
So how's the experience been for you so far on epals?
It's been pretty positive for the most part.
How many you mostly play Overwatch? Is that the main game that you
Yeah, and
play?
that's the main thing I get orders on.
How like consistent do you what's your, I guess, schedule, and like do you get people ordering you pretty consistently?
Not really. It's usually one and done. I don't really have any regulars. That's what I'd like to do is have regulars, but with my work schedule sometimes I can't guarantee that I can always be on from like 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of disappointing because I can't really build that right now.
So
Gotcha.
what are your long-term plans actually?
Yeah.
With
Long term?
epals or yeah, just
I just think it would be something that I'd like to be on for a long time, just because it's fun. Anyway, like if I'm on my computer, I'm playing a game anyway, so I might as well make a couple bucks and meet new people. So
Do you see this like turning into like maybe like a career in streaming or something, or making it if it gets like really big for you?
yeah, I would love that. I have a Twitch. I've kind of messed around with OBS. I just need I guess like a mentor to help me with that kind of stuff. I'd like to maybe use money I get from epal if I get, kind of a base clientele, if that's the right phrase for it, to maybe get like a nice mic, like a nicer mic, or something like a nicer headset or something like that to upgrade kind of audio and
Like your
visual
equipment.
stuff, yeah, for streaming.
yeah, so like Twitch streaming could be a possibility for you or
Yeah, I love it.
so have you interacted with any other e-girls or e-girls on the site or e-pals on the site or
I've had some messages back and forth. I've not ordered from anybody, and I don't know if anybody who has active games to be bought has ever ordered from me. I don't think they
Oh,
have. Usually
interesting.
I'll check out their profile. It'll be, like a blank profile with like just their name and their little picture and stuff like that and their age.
Or generally when people DM you or when
Yeah, you
somebody
can.
reaches out to you?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot more messages than I have actual orders. Or they'll be like, "Hey, are you online?" And I'm like blatantly not online, and then I feel bad because I'll check it like 7 hours later, and I'll be like, "Oh, sorry, I wasn't on my computer."
Doesn't epal tell you if somebody's online or not?
Yeah, but you can make it permanent, so like I'll
Oh,
accidentally like turn my computer off for the night and forget to press the little offline button. Like, it's like a little switch, so it has a green thing by my name, and I'm definitely not online. It's
so
it's
you gotta
my
clock out.
it's my bad. I just, yeah.
I think I notice a lot of people that in their username they'll constantly be updating a status
Yeah, and they'll be
almost.
like, "Oh, I'm sleeping," or "I'm taking a nap," or "I'm in the bathroom," or "I'm online, I'm offline." I need to do that, honestly. It's a good idea.
Or like statuses would be great, some sort of just
Yeah,
yeah,
'cause they have
subs.
like forums, but I wish you could post like just for yourself, like on your profile.
Right. Or we've been using the topics actually just to promote our
Yeah.
to shill our stuff, but
Yeah, that's where I saw you guys.
yeah, oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
actually.
I was like, "Let me hit
I,
them up. This is cool."
we were just so amazed that anybody actually took a look at it. Yeah, it was really cool. So something that we've actually noticed is some of the other epals on the site, they actually have support networks within the site. Like they'll know other e-girls or e-pals or whatever, and they'll share, hey, this person's kind of sucky, or
Oh,
just
that's
give
a
each
good
other
idea.
tips
I
as a
should
support
also do
network.
that.
They kind of talk to themselves.
Yeah,
Kind
like
of
kind
talk
of
to
like a
themselves.
buyer beware or a
Yeah.
seller beware kind of thing.
Or just, yeah, as a support network of like,
Yeah.
because I guess you're kind of starting out, or you're maybe still building that Overwatch profile, I guess.
Yeah.
So like, what are your time constraints? Like, you're not able to do this as a full-time job like some of the people on the site?
Well, I'm in the military, so I definitely have a lot of times where I'll be pulling like 12-hour work days or something like that, and I'll get home at like 1 a.m., and the last thing I want to do is hop on and play a game of Overwatch. So like I'll usually shower and go to bed instead. But if I have like a normal work day, which is like 7 to 4:30 or 5, then yeah, like I'll get on.
So I guess what's that experience like, having like a full-time job and then also doing this on the side? I think a lot of the people we've been speaking to have been students, or it's sort of their full-time job because they're freelancing or whatever.
Yeah. So it's the only thing I know really. It's an emphasis on side. It's kind of a hop on when I want to kind of thing, because I can't really focus on it necessarily, and I like it because it's there on my terms, and I can just go on there if I want and see if I can catch an order or two. So it's not like a schedule where they're gonna like fire you, if you don't get on for a week.
I guess there's something valuable about being in control of your own schedule.
It is. Mhm.
Do you think that maybe if you were a little bit more consistent, you'd be able to kind of build the clientele?
Yeah, I think so, and I think also if I were more involved, if I had more social media that geared towards that kind of persona rather than just my personal like social medias.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you advertise this anywhere on your like personal social media, things
No,
like that?
not at all. I just have the site. I tell people about it like verbally, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, that's really cool," or "That's funny. I should do that." Whatever. I haven't advertised it on anything else, because I'm not known for anything. Like my persona isn't, if that makes sense, like MoonGirl, whatever, like
Right.
the nice
Yeah.
pictures, like not, my Snapchat story where it's like me sweating or whatever. It's like it's so I feel like it is kind of a persona a little bit. So I don't really have a lot of social media built up towards
Mm-hmm.
that yet, but it's something I want to do.
Yeah. So you talk about like it being like a persona. Do you imagine this persona to be like kind of different from just who you regularly are? In your everyday
Yeah.
life. Are you trying to like build this character?
So I think the best example, I don't know if this is gonna make any sense, but have you seen those memes about girls who say bruh and girls who say hi? You know what I'm talking
Yes.
about?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah. I
I'm
know what
very
you're
much a
talking about.
bruh girl. Um, but MoonGirl is hi. It's like, hi, how are you today? And I'm not talking in like my deep ass voice, like, oh yeah, I just got off this field op in my camis, hoorah, Marine Corps. Like nobody wants to hear that. They want like cute girl that sits in her room and plays video games with her little pink headset and draws hearts with blush on her cheeks. Like that's
Yeah.
my persona. So,
Okay.
and that's what I like
No,
to be too. I just can't, 24/7.
that's funny that you say that, because I think actually seeing a character like that in the e-girl community would also kind of be different than what you typically see, because
Yeah.
you see a lot of that like
Cutesy.
prototypical e-girl.
Yeah. Well, it's also because you're kind of pandering towards dudes, so
Yeah.
that's the audience that's gonna buy. Because it's not like I can carry them up to grandmasters or anything. So it's the fact that you can enjoy this conversation and spending virtual time with a persona that you like, or this
Yep.
kind of person that embodies an aesthetic that you find attractive.
I guess that's a really interesting thought of, do you think people prefer that the higher pitched woo type girl, or I've noticed actually a lot of advice I've heard is just really be yourself, and
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll talk
that is
like
your...
I'll talk like this, like this is my
Mhm.
voice. So, but my audio recordings are definitely a little bit like I feel like I'm talking to an audience, but I don't know. It really just depends. I've had nobody that messaged me and was like, "What are you doing?" Like that is not you at all. But it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of an advertisement, like the profile is. So
Do you think having a persona, even if it's sort of reflective of your persona in real life, and maybe turned up to 11 to play up to people.
Yeah.
Do you think that's part of what might make people successful on the site, just really being a
Oh yeah,
personality?
definitely. Like if you see people that are really popular, they'll have maybe like a really cute photo or cosplay pictures, or maybe they're wearing a wig, or they're edited, like their profile picture has stickers on it, or they'll say like ooh woo or whatever. And like, because when you're shopping around looking for somebody to play a video game with, you want an e-girl, and you don't want like someone who's boring. And not that anybody is, but the way that you portray yourself has to be somewhat interesting and eye-grabbing, because no one's gonna click on. It's like having a dating profile. You're not gonna put like mediocre pictures of yourself to present yourself to someone who's never seen you before.
Oh wait, we shouldn't do that.
No.
Sorry, I should update my dating profile.
But you think about like your first picture, the first thing anybody sees about you if they never heard or seen of you before.
Yeah.
What is the first thing you want them to see?
Yep, that's
And
a good point.
to have that towards somebody who's buying something from me. So
yeah, and you mentioned the audience, and I think like the people who seek out an e-girl, they have this image in mind, right?
Yeah.
Of what they're gonna expect.
Yeah, definitely.
And
so like you mentioned that you had a husband. How does he feel about like what you're doing on the
Oh,
site?
well, he was in the Discord chat whenever Hayden brought it up. So he was like, "Yeah, do it. I don't care. Just don't like, like if somebody's messaging, it's just like the same etiquette when you're in a relationship that you would have on any site like Instagram. If you get a DM that's like, "Hey, sexy," you're not gonna be like, "What up, baby?" You know what I mean? You're just gonna, you're just gonna be like, "Oh, like, hi, whatever."
Hi.
You'd be like, "Let's not do that." So it's just boundaries, just
Right.
with your partner. He doesn't mind. He knows I have a Twitch. He helped me set it up. He helped me pick out pictures for my profile on epal. It's, if he wasn't comfortable with it, I would not do it, because it's not worth having a profile on a website,
Yeah.
and ruin my relationship.
That totally makes sense, but maybe it's not applicable to you, but do you think there is, I think a lot of e-girls maybe don't advertise the fact that they're in a relationship. Do you think
I
that
don't advertise it either, because it ruins the fantasy
for the person
of like talking to this nice girl and you're enjoying your time with her almost like a date. And she's asking you about yourself and you're asking her about herself. It is kind of like a date, but not necessarily romantically. It's like a weird kind of blind date thing. So
do you think that's maybe that's the service you provide on epals, is just being
like a blind date to people?
Yeah. I think that it's important if someone's buying something from you, even if it is cheap. Like, yeah, they're buying the game with you, but they wouldn't be on this website, purchasing people's time if they didn't want to have a nice conversation. So obviously I would cater to them instead of, sitting there silently and waiting for them to start a conversation with me.
Yeah, I guess that's probably like you have to generally carry the conversation usually with.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I get them going and they won't shut up. So I'm just sitting there like, yeah, you go, dude. Like, speak your passion. I support you.
So, what's like the best experience that you've been in as part of the site?
The best one? Dang, I haven't ranked them. I have two that stand out to me. There's one, he purchased a game from me, and he added me to his Discord server, and he's like, we're in this voice chat, and I was like, okay, and I go in, and it's a bunch of dudes, there's like probably like 4 or 5 of them, and they all have these southern accents, and I was like, bro, no, don't laugh, I'm from Tennessee. So I understand, I do have one sometimes. And I keep listening to them and I'm like, they sound so familiar, like not their voices themselves, but the accent. I was like, are you guys from East Tennessee? They were like, what? How did you know that? Turns out they were going to one of my neighboring high schools that I used to go to, and they lived in the exact town that I'm from. And I picked it out because of their accents, so we all got to have like a really cool conversation about home, because I don't live there anymore. So it was actually really sweet. And there were some high school guys,
awesome.
And they're like, oh, what do you do now? Blah, 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 blah. Like, you went to here? Oh, that's so cool. Like, they're a rival football team, So it was actually really cute.
So there's an East Tennessee accent. That's what I took out
a bunch of southern, like if someone's from Alabama and then someone's from Georgia, they're going to sound different.
That
if you've
totally
heard it
makes
before,
sense, yeah.
Like it's just a little different.
I guess, wait, what states does Tennessee border? My geography is not, let me look it up.
Well, now I'm going to get all confused because Neither is my geography. um,
Wait, okay, so it's
Alabama?
next
I don't know
to
about
Alabama,
Alabama,
Mississippi, Arkansas,
yeah.
Kentucky,
Kentucky is
North
one.
Carolina, South Carolina,
Yeah.
Georgia, maybe a little bit Virginia. That's not really helping right now. Oh, that's crazy. So that accent might be shared with southern Missouri and maybe
Maybe
western Arkansas.
it's like regional, so and also
That's
just where you grew up, I guess.
that's crazy though. I guess that's so interesting. It's just full circle kind of. I don't
Yeah,
know,
it was
maybe
really
not full circle.
wholesome. It was just really
It's
wholesome.
like Small World.
Yeah.
And what was that other story?
Oh
other
my
one that stood
gosh.
out.
Okay. So, did you guys ever play Dota 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not.
Well, there is a guy on there that well, not on, I guess on there. He was like a big player for I think an esport team for Dota 2. And I didn't know who he was. I didn't even know what Dota 2 was. I had no idea. And he ordered a VR chat from me because before eChat was a thing, people would order VR chat and just ask to call me. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I don't care because it's the same thing. You're just not moving a character around, you know?
Right.
Yep.
And he asked to Discord call me, and I was like, yeah, sure, bro, like whatever. And his name was Jigglebilly. I swear, and I looked him up, and he's like in some Dota 2 encyclopedia of like
Oh,
being
geez.
like he used to be really big on Twitch and stuff, and then he like deleted his account or got banned or something like that. And he asked me, he was like, "Is it okay if I stream while talking to you?" And I was like, "Sure. What's your Twitch?" And I went on there without telling him that I was on there, and there were hundreds of people watching him voice talk to me, and they were like,
Oh,
"Ask her
wow.
this, ask her that, blah 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 blah." And I was like,
That's crazy. Did that
It
make
was
you
weird.
nervous? Because you
A
were kind of
little
like
bit,
performing.
but I knew immediately what they were saying, so I knew what he was about to ask. So I like was able to prepare what I was about to say.
That's like a 200 IQ move there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then one of the mods was like, "Hey, there's someone in here called MoonGirl," and everyone was like, "Ugh." I was like, "Ah, gotta go,
You
I
got
gotta
outed.
leave, I gotta
Oh,
leave."
that's not me.
Who's
It's
that?
the other Moon Girl.
Yeah, don't click on the profile. It looks exactly like me.
One thing I wanted to ask, I guess, is do you get, I guess, harassing DMs through epals? Is that something that you have to deal with on a regular basis?
So within that website, I've not
Yeah.
been harassed. I've gotten some requests for NSW stuff, and I just have to tell them like, no, I'm safe for work, whatever. You know, like I'm not.
Right.
And the most I've ever gotten personally is like, hey, can you do a lewd chat with like me and my boyfriend or something like that? You know,
Right.
which is just like I guess like a threesome on Discord. I don't know what I've never done that before. I don't know what it means. I've
Me
never
neither.
done sex work, but I know it's definitely a thing. So if anybody wanted to do that, then there's a market out there for it.
Huh.
I guess,
On
yeah,
Discord.
on Discord.
Yeah, like you call them on Discord.
I guess just like
Gotcha.
some sort of lewd chat through Discord, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, obviously you probably don't do video chats. I guess that's something. I mean,
Oh,
it's
I would
just
have to
too
get
easily.
I would have to get ready, man. When I'm on my computer, dude, I do not have the lashes on or the eyeliner. My acne is out. I'm in a hoodie.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah.
That would ruin it.
I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, me too. I'm just like sitting here in a t-shirt, like a plain white
Yeah, like
t-shirt.
I'm wearing like a hoodie
like,
and PJ
bedhead.
shorts, you know? Like I didn't
Yeah.
put the glitter on my eyeballs this morning, so
my
On
room
the
is
eyeballs.
immensely messy.
directly
and
on the eyeballs.
directly on that.
To get that perfect sparkle that you're looking for.
Yeah, the twinkle in my eye, but with makeup.
The anime eyes. you know?
Yes,
That's the secret.
exactly.
Wait, there's like those contact lenses that are just slightly or bigger than your pupils.
Yeah,
and it makes your
yeah.
eyes look big.
Circle lenses.
Circle
That's
lenses,
what they're called.
right?
That would be
Really?
cool. You probably wouldn't be able to pick that up on the webcam that I have, but that's a cool idea.
I tried to put on a contact once and I couldn't do it. I literally tried for an hour to put on a contact on.
I've never
Is
put
it-
one
I mean,
in.
Andy wears contacts.
No, I don't wear contacts.
never put one in?
I've
put
worn
one in.
glasses in 7th grade and never got contacts, so I don't know.
No contact gang.
No contact gang.
checking in
Assemble
right
here.
now.
Yeah.
Not for lack of trying though. I really struggled to try to put
Really?
a contact in for a
Dang.
long time. I just
I
figured,
guess-
well, guess I'm never wearing contacts
Oh well.
because I can't put it in.
They'll suck.
I guess my eyesight isn't bad enough where if I weren't using my glasses, I'd be fine. So I guess
That's
I've
kind of
always
how
just
I'm just really nearsighted, so it's like blurry and not the best for
yeah
me to drive without them. So I
without
just keep
glasses.
yeah, I just keep them in my car and I don't wear them like outside of the car usually.
That's crazy. No, I just accept that things that are far away are slightly blurry for me. I think I could probably get away with driving without glasses, but also that would be, yeah,
Hmm.
not legal. So
Remind me not to ride
Yeah.
with you, Andy. I
no,
think
okay. No,
you're
I
not
wear my
driving.
glasses. Something that I've been thinking about is I don't know if you have had any bad experiences with epals, but and then also we've noticed that a lot of people when they hire epals for the memes, they usually have the same questions and the same questions that we had when we started of hey, what's your best experiences through epals, and then it inevitably swings around the other way is like what's
What's
the
the worst? Yeah.
worst epals
Yeah.
experience. And something that I've noticed is, I mean, I think a lot of the people that are really experienced on the site kind of get used to telling that story because it's probably such a common request. But I
Yeah.
guess some of the experiences they have can be kind of, I mean, it's sexual harassment sometimes because people are just asking for like nudes or lewds or just saying really weird things about people's appearances or
Yeah.
stuff they want to.
Well, I consider myself very lucky. I haven't had anybody who's come on and tried to ask for something in a sexual nature and I tell them no. They haven't bothered me after that. I can't say that it would be the same for any other girl. Um, but personally, like to me, I've never had like this horrible experience that made me think about deleting my account or like reporting the account that did it to me. Like I've never had that at all. I've never experienced anything super horrible, but that also I also say that knowing that like there's no kind of filter or anything for the messages that you
On
get.
epal.
So someone could go
Right.
and be like, off yourself and there's no filter to say like, this message is inappropriate or something like that. Like you could say some pretty harsh things and get away with it on here because there's not a lot of well, not that I support censorship, but you know what I mean. Like there's not a lot of stuff to help
There's no
out
like,
victims of like verbal harassment.
yeah.
Right. And
There's
I
no
think there's
barrier
no
for that.
barriers, and you can kind of just sign up for an account and just start messaging people
Yeah,
almost
like
right
you don't
away,
have to
right?
show your ID. Like I could set like my profile like I'm 20. My profile says that I'm 20, but I didn't have to send it a picture of my ID to prove that I'm
Right.
20.
Mm.
So I could be 16, and then there are people who think I'm 20 and asking for nude stuff. And what if I gave it
Right.
to
Oh,
them?
jeez.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be messed
You
up.
don't know. So
When I look at the community page, I mean, for the most part, it's people advertising, but occasionally you'll just see just random dudes just being like, "Hey, I need a thick egirl,"
yeah,
or that sort of stuff, and that's probably like very tame in terms of what can happen in.
yeah, and it's honestly like kind of expected, like kind of like the buzzwords like goth GF or like like the term like big titty goth GF. I'm talking about like so
Right.
if you have that, then you can advertise yourself as that.
Yeah, I guess maybe some people encourage it, I guess, as a persona or something.
Yeah,
From a female perspective, is that, I mean, it's going to happen just because of the nature of it's you're sort of in the public now.
yeah,
Like somebody can message you, or even if you're maybe somebody like an influencer on Instagram, especially as a woman on the internet, you're going to start attracting that sort of attention.
definitely, yeah.
And the people, I mean, we've been interviewing have stuck with it, and they have thick skin or whatever, they can deal with it. But obviously, that's not an amazingly positive experience to go
Yeah.
through, right?
I mean, you
Yeah,
shouldn't have to, is the
yeah,
thing. But
They
that's true. Like you shouldn't like just because you can endure something doesn't mean you should have to because you're simply interested in something. But that kind of stuff stopping gets like starts that discouraging like your bros that you see doing it,
yeah,
and that's where it starts kind of grassroots type stuff because if like you say a joke about it, like something that may make a girl or just like anybody online uncomfortable, and then you have people like liking it or laughing at it, like laughing
mm-hmm.
with you. And that's obviously it's attention, it's positive attention for you, so it's gonna get encouraged. So it's kind of like a grassroots thing in my opinion. like changing a culture is hard. It is, but understanding it is what the most important part of it is. Like most important part of change is understanding where it started, where it came from, who's in it, what's interesting about it, and what's enjoyable about it. So that's kind of what I'm
Yes.
trying to do.
Yeah, so like attack the at the base of the problem.
Yeah, and you
I
can do
guess
it. You can do it gently too. You know, you don't have to be like, oh fuck you, stop talking to people like that. You know, because then they're just gonna be like, oh you're triggered, lol, and then just like keep going.
I guess like when for us we do interview a lot of I mean the point of the podcast was to interview e-girls, and I guess it's really sucky that it's part of the experience that an e-girl goes through, this sort of like sexual harassment.
Yeah, like it's
Um,
expected or whatever. I think that
It's
like
assumed, yeah.
it's
yeah, it's
it's
Like,
assumed.
oh,
assumed,
you
and
signed up for this, like you know what's gonna happen.
and
Yeah,
then we're
yeah.
also like two dudes discussing it with them. Is I mean, like obviously we don't. I mean, I haven't in my personal life experienced probably the kind of sexual harassment. You know, some of the people on the site probably experienced some pretty horrific stuff,
Yeah.
Or
and
just in like an everyday life as well. There's a lot of like little things that kind of we wouldn't think about maybe,
we wouldn't
but
pick.
it's
Yeah,
like it is for sure like sexual harassment or something like that.
I guess like we have to check our privileges as men.
Yeah.
But I I guess for us, like maybe it would be really helpful for me to get your perspective on how to discuss this sort of topic, like
Yeah.
Just
with
setting boundaries, you know, like with the or letting the person you're talking with set the
right.
boundaries. I mean, that's all you can really do when you're discussing anything that may be touchy, is just be
Hmm.
like, what is there anything, you know, you don't want me to ask about, or if I say like ask something, you can be like, I'm not comfortable answering that question, instead of just pushing for them to answer it, which it doesn't seem like y'all would do, but in general,
Right.
you know.
I guess that's sort of the catch 22 is like the people we're talking to are so used to it. And I guess with epals, a lot of people are asking for those kind of stories. So they kind of are okay with saying them
Yeah.
because they're, you know, they're strong people. I guess the third party in this conversation between us and the interviewee being an e-girl or somebody is like the audience.
Yeah.
And what do you think maybe are some ways that we can be responsible in terms of presenting the subject for our audience?
That's a good question. I think maybe starting out broad and then narrowing in as the interviewee wants to narrow in and elaborate on something. So say like you asked me about sexual harassment in kind of general, and then we narrowed it down to being on this site, and then
Right.
you know I can expand upon that personally, whatever, you know. But let's say that if I didn't want to talk about it, then you're not gonna force me to talk about it, you know. And for
Right.
somebody
Yeah.
listening, if they want to like if they want to listen to me talk about it, you know, that's what they're gonna come here to do. And if they don't, then they're just gonna click through it, you know. So I mean, it's basically just gets down to if they want to listen and hear what people who have experienced things say about the experiences, then they can. And if they don't want to, there's a mute button.
That's true. Yeah, totally.
No, I
And
don't have a fantastic answer, but that's all I can really.
no, I mean,
No,
That's
that's
all I
good
can
answer.
think of.
I
Yeah.
totally appreciate your perspective just because, I mean, we kind of started this all as a joke, and now just listening to the own podcast and just talking to our friends and our, I guess,
And the people
our
we
fem-
interview.
Yeah, of
people we
course.
interview and the people like female people in our lives, like it's really eye-opening for us how I guess it can be like traumatic and just kind of triggering for some people, and I guess that's definitely not our intention.
Yeah.
uh
Yeah, so like with a little warning, you know, like in this episode we talk about this, and this, and if you're not
this
comfortable with that, you can skip to this timestamp, or, you know, like
Mm.
to get
right.
past it. Or we talk about this certain subject from here to here. So if you don't want to
Yeah.
listen to it, then you can skip past it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good point.
totally. I mean, I don't this is probably not like a subject that you probably talk to your male friends offline about, but I mean, is there any sort of way that we can just make sure that we're empathetic when we talk about it? I guess the things I've just learned in this last week is just there's sometimes there's shock value to these sexual harassment stories. The sort of like graphic language is just uncomfortable, and sometimes I laugh uncomfortably, and maybe
Yeah.
that's not take and it sounds comes off as not taking the story seriously, I
Mhm.
guess. I mean, I don't know if that's anything you've
Well,
experienced with, or
I nervous laugh too, so it's just telling somebody like exactly what you told me. Like sometimes I'll nervous laugh at something if I feel uncomfortable, if we're talking about something uncomfortable, and I want you to know that this is not me discrediting you. This is just my natural coping reaction. And they can either be like, okay, that's fine, or like, fuck you, that's really insensitive, and then you just don't have to talk to them about it.
That's good to know, actually, that to communicate that true, because I mean, people maybe don't realize that, some people nervous laugh or something
Yeah,
like
or so
that.
yeah, and so somebody like if I was saying something and you laughed at me and it wasn't, you didn't tell me before, like you did just now, I would have been like, okay, rude. Anyways,
Yeah.
Are there any maybe other this I don't know if it's like a super common thing, but like do you have any other maybe rules or guidelines for discussing this sort of I mean maybe not in the context of a podcast, but maybe just person to person of discussing these sort of really sensitive topics?
the only thing I would say is don't argue with somebody about their experiences. Like, if someone's like say I'm talking to you and I'm like, hey, so this dude is being like really, really creepy to me
Yeah.
and I'm really uncomfortable and he won't leave me alone. Don't be like, okay, well, he wasn't really even being that bad. I don't know why you're overreacting. Or did you know
Yeah.
that people can be creepy to me too? You're like, okay, well, I wasn't talking about, I was talking about me. So like, just listen to
Yeah.
me right now.
Don't minimize others,
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't argue with them about it. Just let them
experiences.
speak how
Okay.
they feel, and then maybe afterwards, if you wanted to bring up something that kind of piggybacked off of whatever they're saying, then it's appropriate like after.
Yeah. I guess this is probably a really rough transition, but
Segue.
the segue. Do you mind talking about your day job and like what's it like there?
Oh, so I'm in the Marine Corps. I'm a junior Marine, so I'm not like I'm enlisted, like I'm lower enlisted. I've been in for about 2 years. I do like logistics. I I work with, like, if a unit is going to go and deploy, I help them with their cargo basically. So I'm an expert in loading cargo and moving it. This sounds really boring, but there's some really cool parts about it too.
The talisman. It sounds like is it like supply chain management kind of.
It
That
kind of is,
sounds
like,
yeah.
but military version.
Military version.
Like we deal, with trains, planes, helicopters,
Automobiles. Darn
yeah,
it.
any
Oh,
kind
I
of,
want.
yeah,
Oh,
ships, ports and like with ports and beaches. So like we know how to kind of like organize everything before it's loaded and then also after, if that makes sense. Which is a big part of it, is organizing everything. Like say you're loading a bunch of trucks onto a boat, you gotta put them in a certain order so you know what's going on. Like literally going onto the boat, stuff like that. So it's kind of like organizing stuff and telling people what to do, even though they're like way higher than you. Like, yeah, that definitely becomes billet over rank, if that makes any sense in some situations. But, yeah, so I get to do some pretty cool stuff. Sometimes it's boring, but sometimes it's really cool.
Is it like definitely nerd out? Is like I mean, for me, it'd be really cool to be like, hey, trains are dope. Putting a truck on a ship is pretty dope, and like the idea of
God, the idea of
sending a
it is really cool, isn't it? But the actual doing the reality is like if we're doing something on the beach and we're gonna load some stuff on the beach, we gotta get to the beach 2 days early and set up everything, and it's a lot of being really sandy and not being able to shower for a few days and living in a two-man tent and um, staying up really late so you can watch the gate. Having shifts of waking up watching a gate, literally just sitting there watching a gate. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes along with, like, the actual execution of something that can arguably be annoying. And being lower enlisted, you do kind of the grunt work, like, you take out the trash, you police call, like, you pick up all the trash from the ground, you get people their stuff, you are the one, like, writing things down, setting, like, the big tents up, and doing like the small frustrating things. So it's like your whole day's filled with super small frustrating things, and you get to go to sleep, and then 2 hours into the night someone wakes you up and they're like, hey, you got fire watch. Like, really? For real? I just worked for 8 hours. Let me sleep.
After all that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a cool experience, and obviously, you know, the more you work and the more experience you have, the more comfortable you get with it. But
Wait, so that's really cool. So
yeah,
wait, sorry. So it's not like an office job. Like you're actually
no,
out
no,
there
so
managing
we
all this.
actually do the management. Like physically, we supervise and do stuff like on a site, while there's other versions of the job, because they're all classified under a set of like 4 numbers. So like I'm a 0481, but we have 0411s and 0431s, and they both also do logistics. They just do more office and even more supervisory kind of versions of what we do, and we all coordinate, if that makes any sense. So we
That's
work like alongside other people who went through a similar school, but like their school be more like how to use a certain computer program to be able to relay information. Like they'll be the ones weighing the people to go on planes and making sure like they're not at capacity. Well, we'll be the ones putting the cargo in the underbelly of it.
how did you get into the Marines and then get into logistics?
It kind of happened fast. The job part did. I didn't know like what I wanted to do after high school. And well,
Mhm.
I am a musician, and I loved like classical music. I wanted to be a choir teacher, you know. I was super into it. I played piano, and then my friend joined. She enlisted while she was still, you know, in high school, which is called being a poolee, because you're in a pool of people that are going to ship out to boot camp eventually. And so she's a poolee, and every like 2 days per week, you go to your little recruiting office and you work out to help you get ready for boot camp. Like after school, you go and work out. And she would always come the next day and be like, "Oh, I had such a good workout. And we went out to Texas Roadhouse after, and my recruiter's so funny, hee hee, haha, whatever." And I was like, "Well, that's kind of cool." And I saw that they had a band. There's a Marine Corps band, and you know they travel everywhere, and it's really a cool elite thing. And I was like, I could try to audition for it. And then I started talking to the recruiter. I got my enlistment package started, and then I got the audition music for the band, and it's not the kind of music I learned. It was like band music, like blues.
Oh,
And I learned classical like solo music. So their sheet music
yikes.
had like a triangle beside an A, and that's not music to me. Like I don't know what that means. So I knew I couldn't bullshit my way through like
Oh.
an audition, like and then a live
Yeah.
audition, and then go to a whole school about it, not knowing what the hell I'm doing.
Mhm.
But I was already in pretty deep with the recruiter, so I was like, I'll still do it. Like, I still think it's a cool idea, and I've been working on, like, my fitness and stuff like that. So I just signed an open logistics contract, and it placed me in 0481. I was like, okay. And, I thought it was definitely my luck to get that specific job, because we are the only job that has our uniforms modified, like, at all. We have square and rectangle red patches sewn onto our hats and our trousers. And they call us red patchers.
Red patches.
Red
So if you look
patchers.
up like red patcher USMC, like you'll be able to see stuff about like on Google. But it was just my luck to be in an organization where everyone wears the same uniform and still look different. Like, and people still don't know that like the rumors that we have AIDS, like if like red patchers have AIDS, like the
What?
joke, and now it's become red patchers have COVID, the
Oh.
Oh
COVID
my
positive
god.
Marines. And I'll have people like when I'm out like on base, like not at my job, someone will be like, "Hey, what do those mean?" And I'm like, "Homie, red patchers have been around since like the beginning of the like Tun Tavern, like where the Marine Corps was made. They've been around for a hot minute, and you don't know what the red patches mean, but people really don't know what it is. So it's pretty
Me
interesting.
included. This is the first I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, my recruiter was like, "Yeah, you have to get your uniform modified," and I was like, "Hey," he was like, "Yep," and I was like, "Okay." And now it's weird seeing a Marine without red patches. I'm like,
Mm.
there's something wrong here. There's something missing.
That's funny. I like how, this all started because you wanted to join the
The
band, the
bands,
Marine
yeah,
band.
now
Yeah.
and now I'm literally like sitting underneath helicopters, you know.
That's like they roped you in, and
Yeah,
now
for
you're doing something
real.
totally different.
Yeah.
But I mean, are you enjoying your experience in the Marine Corps so far?
Yeah, there's ups and downs to it, definitely. And I also been dealing with some like internal health issues, like not like oh
Oh.
I broke my leg or something like that, but like kind of other stuff with my body that I've never had any problems with before I joined, and now all of a sudden like I'm having a lot of issues, and that's kind of a hard stereotype to fight just because it's like the
Mm.
joke that girls come in and then like they break their hips or they get pregnant and then they get out.
Oh.
So it's like, yes, I have to go to medical, but no, I'm not gonna get out. Like, I'm not trying to get out of this. Like, I really have to go. Like, I'm about to shit myself. I have to go to medical. Like, or like something is about to, like, I'm about to throw up my entire meal. I gotta go. So it's definitely a learning curve for me. And also the hours are not guaranteed and they're random sometimes. Like, I'll get a text 2 days, like say like today's Sunday, so like they'll text me and be like, hey, on Tuesday you have duty, which is where you stay up for 24 hours in a barracks office to make sure nobody punches each other when they're drunk. Like, it's like, oh, sweet, I have to stay up for a whole entire day. And I just now knew, that's awesome, but
Yeah, I feel like this kind of like is a volatile kind of schedule, and it
you
really
have
impacts like
to
your
you have to
epal
be
availability.
it does.
Yeah.
How Marines say like Semper Fi or whatever, they'll
Right.
always say Semper Gumby, like always
Gumby.
flexible. Because you really do
Oh.
have to be always flexible. Like, even in the middle of the night, someone will be like, hey, you got roving duty from like 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. and you like had no idea that you had it, and then you're like half asleep putting on your uniform so you can drive over to wherever you have it. Like, it's always that kind of stuff.
I like that Semper Gumby.
Yep.
I guess going back, like the point you made about people not believing female Marines and maybe the health medical issues they have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I imagine there must be other challenges you face as a female in the Marine Corps. I mean,
Oh man. So a lot of it's just kind of like workplace, what is the word? Like environment. And I think that, so like the way my really good friend puts it is, if you join the Marine Corps and I join the Marine Corps, so like if a male joined and a female joined, our Marine Corps will never ever be the same. Because it is an old boys club. It's kind of like a female being in politics, if that makes any sense. Like, it's male
right.
dominated, and just because there are females there does not mean that they are 100% going to be treated exactly the same. So, like, there's a lot of problems with sexual harassment and assault that happen, especially in the barracks, which is literally where you live, because they're all co-ed. So, like, not roommate co-ed, but building co-ed. And people get drunk there, obviously, so stuff like that happens, and there's been a lot of mishandling of those kinds of things, kind of like how there are with civilian police, with just mishandling cases like that and not listening, or trying to get, like, say, like, your buddy, like, touched a girl's ass and she reported it. Whoever was helping him, like his lawyer or whatever, was most likely just going to help him out so he doesn't lose his career. But then that girl's career will be ruined because she has maybe PTSD or something, or everyone's like, oh, she's such a tattletale or whatever, and you get ostracized out of loving your job, So it's there's a lot of things that just like in the workplace in general, and also it used to be a lot different for girls. It's gotten a lot better, especially in the Marine Corps. It's gotten a whole lot better for girls. So now, like, it's changing. Some people do not like that, but it is, and it's awesome, and I totally support it. But yeah, that's all I'll say about that. There's a lot I could go on forever, but this is not about the Marine Corps, so.
Yeah, I think that ties back to how you were saying about like it's a grassroots thing, like, right?
Yeah,
'Cause I think
definitely.
like it's on like other men to kind of police our buds or whatever to not,
Yeah, to
to
like just
not
tell
do
them like,
things
hey,
like that.
knock it off. It's not funny, kind of thing. Which
Yeah.
is also hard for for a dude to do, because if your buddy makes a joke and you're in a group of friends and you're like, hey, that's not cool, knock it off. Like, if you said that verbatim, they're gonna be like, well, what's wrong? Like, who pissed in your Cheerios? Like, it's just a joke. So then they're gonna be like, well, he's a pussy. So it's like it starts at that, but I also understand it's really hard for you guys to be able to say those kinds of things and actually get anywhere with it. They're like, oh, you're just simp, you know?
Yeah. For me, yeah, that's for sure. I think for sure is a big impact on people. But the way I see it sometimes is because, yeah, it might be like hard for me or somebody else to do that, but I think it's like way more harder for the people that this impacts.
Oh
So
yeah,
like my
definitely.
discomfort is like, or it's not, it kind of pales in comparison to what the effects are,
Yeah.
down the line for these people. So
It's also just learning how to do it in real time. Because, like, if you're in a situation like you're at, hanging out with somebody's house and somebody says something, you're not always gonna know exactly what to say to counter it, or to try to stifle it right then. You might think of it 2 hours later when you're showering, like, shit, I could have said that. But like, it's not. Sometimes you can't immediately think of it. Kind of like when you're arguing with yourself in the shower over something that happened like 3 weeks ago. Like, oh, that would have been such a good comeback. It's kind of the same thing. It's hard to like think of something on the spot all the time.
Yeah, I think you can freeze for sure in moments like that because it's maybe you weren't expecting it.
Yeah, and
Or,
it's really easy to stay quiet. It's a comfort thing.
Do you think, I think for myself, maybe another issue is just people don't know that isn't a correct behavior to do. I imagine a ton of these guys are super young and just not mature and just don't have the same empathy, or they don't have female friends that can explain what that sort of behavior does to them. And so maybe they look at it as okay, but even
Yeah,
if it isn't.
because I mean, there's some people that'll say things because they genuinely want to hurt somebody, but then there's some people that say things and it's just because they don't know any better. So that's where it comes in, like the whole like you educate somebody, don't throw a bunch of hate at them
Right.
before you know their intentions. But if you've picked up like that they
Mhm.
don't really care and you know that they're just doing it to be a troll or to be rude or because they want to bring somebody down, then that's when you can start being more aggressive. But because if you immediately come at somebody and be like, you suck, why would you say that, blah 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 blah, they're gonna be like, whoa
Right.
whoa, what did I do? I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I guess that's
Yeah.
also another issue of like, sometimes, I mean, it's probably really easy to police somebody of like, hey, you shouldn't say that. But
Yeah.
I'm sure a ton of people are really stubborn and then just take it the wrong way and just double down as
Yeah,
opposed to,
and you see that all the
um,
time too.
I think there's also a lot of like responsibility on giving people an out, because nobody ever wants to be. Sometimes it feels like, oh, I'm wrong, and that makes them feel bad, so they kind of like react against it almost.
Yeah,
Almost it sometimes I
out
think
of
it requires,
defense.
yeah, it requires a bit of giving people an out. Like, hey, I don't, you're not a bad person for this, but this is a way you could be better.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you feel hopeful about the direction that the Marine Corps is going in with,
I
I
do.
guess,
Yeah.
gender issues?
And there's already been big milestones in Marine Corps history, that I've been able to see myself and actually kind of meet the people who have started it because it's pretty recent. Um, like, for example, a while ago, females could not get combat action ribbons, even if they were in
They're in.
combat.
Oh,
Oh.
that's wild.
I don't know why, but I literally had a friend that was on a female engagement team, which is like a really big historical Marine Corps thing where they would send girls out so they would be able to talk to the Middle Eastern women that weren't able to speak to men they weren't married to, and they'd be able to reason and talk and speak and protect with them. And they were literally in firefights and went outside the wire into danger zones, but they didn't get a combat action ribbon, but all the dudes did. But now they can get combat action ribbons. So that's a really big thing. And like there's a big thing, Marines United was this, like, I think it was like a Facebook page, and they started sharing around like nudies of especially
Oh,
other female service members, and it became this huge Dropbox like thing where it was like revenge porn, like, oh, check out my wife, like I got divorced because she cheated on me, and it was like a big kind of revenge porn, like stealing people's news from their phones type thing, and it got really bad, and finally like the Marine Corps wouldn't do anything about it, and so finally two female Marines wrote Congress members and compiled everything and sent it to them, and people's careers were lost immediately, like going to the brig, like military jail type stuff, like dishonorable discharge, no benefits type stuff.
Wow, like scorched earth. They
I
really
guess
went
that's.
Yeah,
for the
because
consequences. Yeah.
they were, running these like porn rings of unconsensual nudes or like taken like just creepy freaking pictures. It was really weird. But like that's been eliminated.
I guess
So
it took Congress to do it, which is kind of
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a problem.
terrible.
So
But
that's what a lot of people are vocal about now. I can only be so vocal. I can't really be like super political. I can't
right.
take like a certain party stance or go tell somebody do something,
Hmm.
like to go vote somewhere or advocate for that kind of stuff, just because I'm active duty.
Right.
So I'm under the UCMJ and I understand that. So basically really all I can say, but I will say that I follow those two girls that did that on Twitter, and they're really cool. And now they're e-girls. They are Twitch streamers, both of them, and
No
they're heavily
way.
tattooed. Yes.
We'll have to hit you up for them later.
Yeah,
But
they're
Yeah,
really
maybe we can
really
get them on here.
nice. Yeah, one of them
Yeah.
has a whole Discord dedicated to her. So.
that's
Oh,
crazy.
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So do you think, I mean, all this progress, is this something that's maybe positive for other women that are looking into joining the Marine Corps? I mean,
Yeah, that's like I'm very vocal about this kind of stuff because I want to do it for girls that join later because nobody warns you about it. Nobody warns you about the fact that you show up to your first duty station and you're either labeled a bitch or a slut, but you don't get to pick which one
jeez.
it is. You have no say in it, you know? So like I came in, it's very, yeah, it happens all the time. I came in to my duty station last July, like after I went through all my schooling. I was literally engaged because I got married the
Mhm.
October after that. I was literally engaged, very vocal about it. I already knew some people that were in my unit, and a girl that was already in there had to defend me while they were going through my Instagram, saying like betting on who was gonna fuck me first, as they saw I was an engaged woman. So that's just how it is, and I don't want that
Mm-hmm.
to be how it is. So that's why I'm so vocal and I am so aggressive. I'm very aggressive about it in real life to the point where people are like, oh, it's a feminazi, like whatever, you know. But I'm doing it so people know not to talk about that kind of shit
Yeah.
to other girls that are 18 years old that just graduated high school and want to serve their country, and then they get shat on
Yeah.
like the moment they try.
I
So
mean, yeah, I guess, I mean, even labeling you as a feminazi, I mean, it doesn't even sound radical what you're saying, I guess.
no,
Because
It's,
it's
but when you've
basic
grown
human
up around a
decency,
sub,
right? But
yeah, but when you grow up around a subculture where that's okay, then
yeah.
it
yeah.
seems radical for somebody to try to tell you to stop because it's like, who are you to tell me that?
I mean, great work, keep it up.
Yep.
Definitely something that, I mean, I'm sure we understand from some like instinctual level that happens, but I guess having it
I think the
vocalized
scale is
is,
lost on people, like how,
Like how common it
how,
is.
yeah,
I guess,
exactly.
I guess it's really important that like you share your story because when there's a face behind it or there's a story behind what actually happens, like
Mhm.
that love, like that story you had about like how you're labeled when you first joined, that's really eye-opening.
I also think
Um,
it's also really nice to hear like that there's progress, right? Because you said, these
Yes.
initiatives were done and then like things actually happened. So that's also nice to see and hear
Mhm.
about for sure.
but,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
guess, so how do you feel about your tenure in the Marine Corps? Do you think you're going to stay for a while, or
No,
maybe what your future
I'm gonna finish this enlistment. It's a
uh-huh.
4-year contract, so I get out in 2022, and I want to be a teacher, so I'm gonna use
You
my
want to,
GI Bill, and I'm gonna be probably like a middle school or elementary school teacher.
that's cool. Do you want to teach music? Is that the plan? Choir
I'd
or
love to, but my music theory is so rusty. I don't think I'd survive in college.
you
Trying
don't
to
think,
be
I
a
mean,
music major. I mean, I could
sure.
pick it back up, yeah, but it's been a little while since I've been able to, because I don't have a piano here or anything. So
Oh, really?
I think I'd just be like a general, like maybe like, like an English teacher in middle school or something like that, you know?
Why are you drawn to like serving as a teacher? Is that something that you're always interested in?
Um, I've been off and on interested in it
Yeah.
as I've been growing up, but the older I've gotten, the more I've realized how much teachers really do have an impact on your life. Like when you're growing up, and it can be really negative or really positive, you know? Like I still remember my teachers from like I still keep in contact with my third grade teacher, you know?
Wow.
And she's like very close to me and my family. So like stuff like that, like I want to help kids grow not just with like no the end of course testing, but also like be a resource for them. Like when my mom was sick, my she had like a brain tumor when I was in middle school and she was very
Jeez.
absent. Obviously she was recovering from brain surgery, and my 8th grade English teacher, Miss Hodson, I talk to her to this day. She was there for me when I was going through stuff. She was like a mom because she was a mom, and but she was like my mom for a few months because I didn't have one emotionally. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
she stepped in for in place of my mom when my mom wasn't able to, and it was literally just during her hour and a half block in English class, she would take, she would use that time to reach out to me, and it changed, I think, the course of how my mental health in middle school leading up into high school went. Just her saying a few things to me every once in a while, you know? So I want to have that
Mhm.
kind of impact.
Yeah, I think
Like,
teachers, they're for sure underappreciated because they do so much more than just like teach, right? You know, like you said, they're
Yeah,
role
they do a
models.
lot of stuff, and they're emotional support
Yeah,
people.
exactly. Yeah, they're a lifeline for a lot of people,
Oh
way
yeah.
beyond the classroom.
Mhm.
I guess I mean that's super cool that you want to serve people. It seems like your entire career I mean, has strong female role models played a part in that sort of mindset you have and just your life in general? I
Definitely,
assume.
yeah.
Do you have any music out, or just you just kind of
No,
practiced?
I just did
No.
like performance stuff.
Okay, perfect.
Mm.
Okay.
So right now, I guess if we're probably gonna wrap it up, maybe you can plug anything that you want to plug.
Well,
Epal, YouTube
my
channels.
my Twitch is called MoonGirl 1999.
Mm-hmm.
Sick.
I'm still learning about it, so I haven't streamed in a while. But if anybody wants to slide me a follow, I'm gonna be getting new equipment soon and being able to make it look really nice. And my personal Instagram is Quesatina with the underscore, spelled like quesadilla, but with instead Tina.
Is that
Christina.
inspired by
Quesatina.
quesadilla?
No, I just thought of it. Well, yeah, I mean, it's sponsored by. I mean, it's sponsored. It's not sponsored by. It's inspired by
Sponsored.
a nice quesadilla, but I thought it was funny because Christina, Quesatina.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it
that's my
works too. It works
Instagram.
very well.
Yeah, but it's
Okay.
just a
Great.
personal one. That's all. It's not anything
Yep.
related to egirlness, but hopefully soon there might be something else that will relate to it more.
How do we find you on ePals? Pal?
Epal, it's my profile name is MoonGirl. So if you were to if you were to go to my profile, you go to epal.gg/epal/103658. I think that's my little ID.
Sick. I think they
There
should
you
have
go.
slightly better links for that. But yeah.
103658. That's me.
Just remember that, everybody.
103658. Go order Overwatch from me, and I'll pocket you as mercy.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, thanks for being on the podcast with us.
Podcast.
Yeah, thank you
And,
for doing this. It's really cool.
And thanks everybody for listening. You know where you can find us at The Lonely Fans on all media platforms, and you can download this at all your favorite podcast destinations.